It's the SDG Podcast. Before we get started, you can check us out on the web at solutiondesign.com/podcast or find us on all the social medias, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Solution Design Group.
All right, we're back.
We're back.
Live in person. I'm Kyle Bacher.
I'm Peter Lawrence.
Yeah.
Chad Jetner.
And doing the SDG Podcast, talking about multitasking.
Peter, you're not in uniform.
Dealing with the chaos.
Well,
do you want me to pause it? You go get a hoodie?
no.
You want a hoodie?
We can talk.
I've got that hoodie. I don't need two. I get in trouble.
Well, you got the logo. You're good.
I've got two.
I've got
I
a zip
have-
and an unzip.
I have like
kill off this
12
whole storage.
12 hoodies.
12 hoodies?
At least.
I do not have 12 hoodies.
Yeah.
If you guys want, I will take another hoodie and wear one.
I think we're good.
Okay.
Let's get through this because I feel like we're not multitasking.
We're not multitasking very
We're
well.
not even tasking.
All right. Go to the intro.
Chad, you live in a world of chaos with your project.
No. Everything's going great.
No, it's going great, but there's just a lot of stuff going on that you have to manage.
There's a few things.
As the architect, you can keep track of a lot of things.
One of the architects.
I'm sorry, one of the architects. You have to keep track of a lot of things.
We do have to keep it. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people
Yeah.
going on.
Yeah.
You've had this situation for many projects.
Yes.
So you get peppered.
Peppered. I am well seasoned.
Yes. How is your multitasking abilities?
It's really good until it isn't. I think, it's fine, right? Like, obviously it's not ideal. So one of the things on any of these engagements where I'm doing a lot of different things, one of the best things for me is to just not pick up any actual stories, right? So if you're on the phone, every half hour with somebody else and you're,
Right. helping them out, doing stuff. Yeah.
6 hours of meetings a day and then doing other things like podcasts.
Yeah.
It's not really conducive to if I want to write code, you've got to block off a solid 2 hours.
Can't write complicated decision statements without focusing on.
Yeah. So you prioritize, right? And then you realize okay, it's probably not the best use of my time to take a story that requires, like you said, complicated decision statements and then expect to have that delivered in the same amount of time it would take.
Even a junior developer sometimes, right?
Yeah, a fellow that can focus for 6 hours.
Yeah.
So one of the, just anticipate that your day is going to be chaotic and you're fine. Also, it helps if you have ADD, which I do.
Yeah.
So describe how that helps you.
Well, because I am able to focus on I do just naturally bounce back and forth between three different things because I'm attracted to shiny objects, right? So if
I wonder if that's an architect kind of mindset
Trait.
that you get. Yeah, trait that you get. I'll be email, Teams, AWS setup.
I don't do email anymore, really.
Well, I know you don't, but
I completely forget about it, right? Because it doesn't bling, 5 times
how do
a minute.
you know which meetings you're supposed to go to?
Teams actually blings at me.
Oh.
Or actually, for me...
You're just using Teams as your calendar?
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay.
Actually, the first person that starts a meeting,
Oh.
I don't even look. I'm like, beep, I'm going to join whatever that is, right?
Yeah, you can pop up, you hop in.
Yeah.
So the ADD lets is you think it's squirrel, getting distracted, but you're able to switch around and it doesn't bother you because every new situation is a new shiny toy. But you also have the ability to drill in and hyper focus on stuff.
Once in a while, yeah. I usually do that at 4 or 5 p.m. is when I can actually okay, now I've got distracted by ping, ping, ping or whatever.
Right.
And I will pick up something and I will hyper focus on a thing.
Right.
And that's nice too.
Yeah. For sure.
But it's just it's infrequent that we get that luxury. So from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. with my normal hours, I don't really have that. So if I want to write code, if I want to pick up a story, if I want to do something, it's 5 o'clock. But even then though, right? You write it and then after you deliver it, you go through the QA process, you go through the acceptance process and all the other stuff. So just writing code isn't enough, right? You got to be available to answer QA questions. You got to be available to answer business questions, to clarify requirements if you need it. So still, even if I want to write code, 5 o'clock isn't the best time, but it's the only time.
So you're writing it and then you're going through all that the next day.
Yeah. You're just adding to your load for the...
Sporadically going through it the next day. Right?
Yeah.
Makes a lot of sense.
Doing tech support and everything else.
Multitasking is about context switching, right?
Yes.
Like for you, it's I'm in this. I click on join. I find out what meeting I'm in, and then I know how to think for that particular
Yeah,
amount
your
of
brain
time.
has to kind of shift with you.
Right.
I've had that where people call me on Teams. I'll pull it up. They'll start talking about something, and
Yep.
I'm still
You're still catching up.
like,
right?
I know I want to do this, but I'm still in this mode.
Same, right. And somebody
Yeah.
calls you up, even, well, I mean, tech support you're talking, where you're context switching even, well, more differently, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh, you have a Mac with this problem.
Right.
Oh, you have a Windows machine with that problem.
Yeah.
Not the same problem, not the same computer. You got to context switch a bit, like, just hit your Windows key. No, wait, that's on
No,
Windows.
it's not control. It's command.
Command C, Command V.
Man, it's a single click mouse. Oh, it's the multi-gesture super touch glide pad.
Yeah, just take your four fingers and scroll
Yeah.
across it.
The best is trackball. Are you kidding me? I know
I just
two people
noticed the
use
sign
it.
up here. Let whatever you do today be enough.
If only it was.
Yeah.
Enough for
You're
now.
multitasking.
That'd be enough for now.
Yeah.
For the day. So I try to be available at all, like during the day.
I mean, you have no choice, right? Like, I mean,
Because I want to keep people working.
I would like my computer to break at 3 p.m. Can we schedule that now?
Yes. But then I also have projects where I need to focus
Right.
and just get up to speed. Like, when am I going to learn any of this stuff? When is that
Right.
going to happen? Because I'm doing all these other
They
things
stopped changing software.
every single day.
Microsoft does not come up with a new service ever. Again, they
Slack
stopped.
moves your picture from here to here. Why? Everyone else has it here.
Time to change.
Yeah. No, it's, I want people to bother me. I want them to try on their own for 15 minutes, unless it's obviously broken.
You should try.
Yeah. Because a lot of times, support calls aren't because something's broken, it's because of learning curve.
Yeah,
And there's
that's
just
true.
some things that people don't do enough to where it sticks. So it doesn't bother me when someone calls me 6 months later and asks me how to do something again. Like, well, I did document this, but
Right. If I send you the link to the document, would you be
Yeah.
offended or would you be happy?
so I usually screen share, pull up the document, and kind of go through it and go, well, let me think, and show how to do it. But yeah, it's like, teach a man to fish, he eats for a day, give a man a fish, he eats for a liar, teach a man to, you won't get fooled again. But someone made the brilliant comment, what if I only need one fish ever?
Ever? Ooh.
All I need is this one fish. Why
I know
you're
a guy
teaching
that
me?
turned
Why do I have
into
to
a lot of
attend
fish.
class for a day to learn how to fish when I just need one?
That's true. I mean, a lot of times, tech support especially is like, it worked yesterday. I know it's going to work after we fix this. You just make it fixed. And then I don't have to think about it anymore.
I went ice fishing with our friend and colleague, Sweet Baby Jesus. And we got to pick which houses we wanted to go in. And I'm like, I'm going to be in his because if he catches one fish, a whole village worth of
That's
fish.
right, you get more fish.
We're going to look like gods. Didn't work out that
Did
way.
not work out that way.
Did not work
Oh,
out that
that's
way
too
at all. He caught one fish. I caught one fish. We were hungry.
But not for fish. Something else.
Oh, no.
Oh, was that this year? Did
I didn't go
find
this year.
ice? I was going to say,
I
did
didn't
you
go
find
this
ice
year.
this
They all
year?
went up there.
Okay.
It was a weird time for our project, so I skipped out on it
Yeah.
because
You're multitasking.
I was multitasking. I didn't make the trip. It sounds like they had a good time. They found ice.
I'm
Also, I was terrified of all the stories about thin ice up
yeah.
north.
There's
Yeah,
a lot of thin ice.
Even
this
though
year.
they were reassured that there was plenty of.
Right.
It's like, yeah, I'm sure everybody that went out there was reassured by somebody.
Over New Year's, I saw somebody with a four-wheeler and somebody with an ice auger walking 20 feet, drilling a hole.
Yeah, dude.
Walking 20 feet and drilling a hole.
I don't know.
I saw a guy with a canoe, sliding his canoe with, along.
Just in case, or
With 1 foot. Like, I'm ready to go any second now. All I gotta do is fall the right way, and I'm good. So,
seems like a good idea on paper.
yeah, I heard that people can't multitask. It's impossible. You can only really focus on one thing. So it's
Scientifically,
rapid context switching.
yes.
And if you do that as a developer, like you have to stay in the zone. You can't do this much and stop and then come back to it. It's very difficult just to pick up where you left off and start going gangbusters.
So the way I explain it to people is that aren't developers is just add up. Like start adding up, take a task that you can do in your head, right? Add up, six-digit numbers, right? So I'm going to give you the first two, hold that. And then I'm going to give you another one and then hold that, right? And then go do this thing really quick over here, right? That has nothing to do with that. Don't write anything down. Just don't do anything.
Right.
Go do that. And then I'm going to give you the next number, right? Add that together. And that's what we do. That's what it's like for us is, you get so far into a problem, you get halfway, and we can kind of write things down like a stopping point. But if somebody calls you immediately, then you lose, kind of...
You're starting that list over. You're starting all 6-digit numbers over again.
Yeah. So for anybody that doesn't understand what that's like, that's a great exercise. It's pretty accurate too. Like if you can do it, wonderful.
Right.
There
are people that can totally do that, right? Like memorize these numbers and do the math in their head. But
super brains out there, savants and whatnot. But that's something that I think needs to be understood, and maybe even structured for. Like let's have our meetings the second half of the day. We're all better in the morning. We're all fresh and our brains are better.
Wouldn't that be wonderful?
Yeah.
If you could just have meetings in the afternoon.
Yeah, stand up and say, what are you going to do today? What did you do today?
What were you going to do today?
Yeah, it's gotten to the point where, so we got teams for our clients. We got teams for our SDG. We've got Slack for SDG. We've got email. We've got text messages. I've been in a situation once where I didn't answer a Teams message, so they pinged me on Slack, and if I didn't answer that, I got a text message. There's no way really for... I could choose not to answer any of it.
Yeah, you can
right?
shut it off.
But after the second or third thing, you're like, oh, what's so important? All right, it's absolutely, come on. So, I think as far as multitasking and distraction-based work environments, this is the worst it's ever been for anybody ever, right? The ability to distract each other is... we have more opportunities.
We have way more opportunities.
Yeah. And I harp on, I've mentioned DHH, the guy that wrote Ruby on Rails, his company, 37 Signals. If you go to their homepage, they actually have 37 principles of how they do business. And one of them is they hate Slack and they hate Teams and they hate all of those group chat things for a number of reasons. And the one, not the least of which is its ability to distract you.
Right.
But also, if you don't participate, we have our conversations about what we're going to talk about on the podcast, right?
Right.
And because I have ADD, I see it pop up, and this is one of the things I get a notification for. So I see it pop up for the podcast, and I'm like, oh, here's some episode ideas. Right. Well, if you don't pay attention to that right away, you might have already picked one within 15 minutes, and then you're in a meeting with a client, and you come in 2 hours later, you don't get a chance to partake in that conversation.
Indeed.
And it's not the best way. I apologize, by the way.
No.
Good, because
it's not.
It's not the best way to communicate at all. Or it's not the best way to make decisions. And the same goes for a lot of the content that we put out there, right? Where we'll throw something out there, and if you have the ability between 9 and 5 to participate in some of those conversations, great. But there's a lot of folks that I talk to that just turn it off completely, right? And they just... And then they turn it off completely so they can focus on client work. Well, then, if you're not focused on it 9 to 5, now you're on your own time. You participate a little bit, so... It's a weird thing because I honestly love Slack. I think it's a cool tool.
Yeah.
I think it's got a cool story with how it came into being.
Yeah.
The whole, the dude, what was it? The dude that wrote, that started Flickr, right? He started a game company.
Right.
And the game company used this tool they wrote internally to communicate with each other. Right. Kind of and it evolved into Slack, and then they never sold a copy of the game. They spun this tool off into Slack, and now it's like $1 billion company for some reason.
Yep.
My goodness, is it a distraction?
It's a very good distraction. Yeah. And there's a lot of parts. I don't know how to limit the number of channels that you want to subscribe to. We have easily. We have people. So there are a handful of people I've talked to. They're like, I have 10 or 5 or whatever their number is, and then if they add one, they throw one out. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So
that's not a bad idea.
Yeah. So that's literally the thing is if I add one, one's going out the window.
Right.
And I pick which one of my kids is the prettiest.
Yeah. Wow. I get added to a ton, and I'll stay in there in case like the owner leaves and something needs to happen. But mute, and I put them all at the bottom. Like I hide them all at the. So I don't have to go down there, and I don't have notifications. And that's one thing is I think it's bad to constantly interrupt people and then expect a response right away or miss out.
Or even the conceit of tagging everybody, right? So like, all right, hey, we've sent an email, and now I'm going to at everyone, here's this thing that was in this email with the exact same content. I'm like, I hear that click, click, click sound, or what is that sound? What would you describe that as? Like,
tap, tap, tap.
Yeah, a little tap, tap, tap. I'm like, oh, what is this? Maybe it's a direct message from somebody that I need to respond to. I'm like, oh, no, this is exactly the same thing as was an email. All right, thanks for that.
My high school.
Now let's get back to this six-digit equation I was trying to solve.
Yeah. My kid's high school will send a text that says, hey,
go read
the email.
Yeah.
We sent you.
My dad will send me an email that says, call me.
That's how old school he is.
Yeah.
Well, it's and I find that people have a preferred method of communication. I've got 2 people that text me on the phone.
That's it.
Text is like, other than voicemail, which I just leave the mailbox full and ignore it. Texting is, I'm just not. I refuse to be tied to that thing and answer that thing.
You aren't going to break your multitasking away to go.
It's like at work, get a hold of me on Slack. You can't call me.
Right.
But
so it's worse for me because I get my text messages. So I'm a Mac guy, right? So I have messages. My text messages are on my laptop, right? So it's just another thing like Teams, Slack, text messages. My worst, one of my least favorite. I mean, I like it because my kids communicate with me. But Snapchat, like Snapchat's the one thing where I don't have a keyboard. I have to actually swipe around on my phone to type out a message. Everything else, like I send a lot of text messages because I'm on my phone, and it's no different than sending an email or Slack or whatever, right? Because I can bang those up pretty quick. But
I just can't type on my phone. I hate it.
I have gone the exact opposite way of the person with 5 Slack channels. I have everything.
Right.
Notify me about everything.
This explains a lot, Peter.
And I've gotten really good at not paying attention to things that pop up when I'm not in the mood to. I'm able to, I wouldn't say most of the time, I'm able to just ignore a lot of, because there's so much noise, it's easier to ignore. It's like being at a crowded bar, you're not listening to every conversation.
Right.
But if you were sitting in a room and 2 people on the other side of the room are having a conversation, it would be hard not to hear what they're talking about, right?
Yeah. If I go, so the bar I go to gets awfully quiet at noon, right? Yeah. It's hard not to but it's actually cool because it's a cop bar. So a lot of the conversations you overhear are super interesting.
Right.
But I forgot what the original point was. I just got a message on my watch that I have a snap message to look at on my phone. And I'm like, I'm such a hypocrite because now I can't now I'm thinking about it. Like,
now you're looking at
it. What did they send? Like,
I will turn off my Slack, but I have it set up so that I get emails telling me that I got a Slack message.
Yeah, dude, I sent you one 15 minutes ago. You haven't responded yet. What are you doing?
Yeah.
I'm serious.
Is something broken?
No,
I was setting up.
You forgot to turn the camera on.
Oh no, I hope not.
Yeah.
That's the beauty part about this podcast with the video is for this one, it's either all or nothing, and we won't know until the end.
Yeah, that's my fear is that we do this, and
we've done a few of those where the recordings haven't worked out.
Not really.
Not for this podcast.
No, the old ones. But
I can't help myself. I gotta
as a team, as an individual, it's like it's up to you to silence your stuff and manage what is able to distract you.
What?
People are going to distract you, and they're going to. If you say this person has notifications turned off, and then it gives you the option of notify them anyway. I'm always going to click that. Yeah.
Really?
I love that Slack lets you do that for people that have it muted in the middle of the night.
I'm just like, yeah, whatever.
I sent our friend Claire, hey Claire, I sent her one last night at about 12:30 a.m. because I saw that she looked like she was online.
Okay.
So that presence notification, this is the other thing that the 37 Signals guys actually rail against, right? Because the presence notification on Teams and Slack, if you're green, you're online, right? And there's people...
Or you've set it to green.
Or you've set it to green, yes. There's people that look at that like, hey man, if he's not green, he's not working.
Right, yeah.
I messaged Claire last night at 12:30 a.m. because I saw that she was green, but it was also ZZZ.
Right.
It did give me the option to notify her, but I know it's in the past. Other people have said this too, like, hey, you were online at 3 a.m. I'm like, all of my devices were off. It's actually kind of weird that it showed me as online at 3 a.m. So
the dog must have brushed your mouse or something. And
exactly, right. Like there was a buzz downstairs and my mouse wiggled. Okay.
If I'm sending stuff late, I will schedule the message to go out like the next morning.
I figure everybody has Do Not Disturb on all their devices. Right. You turn it on.
If you message me in the middle of the night, dude, I'm waking up and I'm going to respond.
Okay, so when I'll snooze send to Chad, but for most people, I just send it like, hey, tomorrow, or like I've sent Teams messages on Friday afternoon, like, hey, Monday, we need to look at this.
Just understand, if you're going to do that to me, I'm going to forget.
Right. If I read it on Friday,
I'm doing it on Friday.
Yeah.
Or Saturday.
And don't tell me you're in dire straits. You have an emergency at like 6:30 via Slack.
No.
Because I will, on autopilot, just open Slack by accident.
Right. And
and now I got this thing, and it's like, well, I'm not going to do anything about it now, but I will have anxiety about it until the next morning.
Here's a little taste of anxiety until.
So I ask people nicely, if you're gonna, like, if it's after hours, please let me know the next morning when I can actually do something about it, so that I'm not thinking about it. But I keep regular hours. I don't do on call because I'm the only one, and that would be insane.
That would be insane.
But I do get, like, once in a while people reach out.
And there's very few times that something can't wait until the next day.
And if it doesn't look like an emergency or something that somebody's freaked out about, I've had people call me at like 8:30 at night because they got a phishing email and they didn't know what to do with it. And
did you tell them where to put it?
Just my security training might have been a little too effective.
Just do this over it until tomorrow morning.
And so that I answered because I didn't want that person to be anxious about it all night. But generally, no, I don't want to set a precedent. If you tell me like, hey, this is an emergency, because otherwise people will cry wolf. And
your lack of planning does not constitute an emergency on my part.
My brother sent me a text, get a hold of me right away.
This is so important. I'm texting you. I'm not calling you, but I'm texting you.
Drop everything. Folks, I got to step out of this meeting. Hey, what's going on? Hey, swing by on your way home. I made some really good hot dish.
Oh, that is important.
But it's
it might not be life interrupting.
Nobody is like in the hospital.
Yeah.
Could you just tone that down just a little bit?
So-and-so slipped on the ice and they're in the ER right now and wanted you to know.
That's an important thing. But that, I used to think I was a good multitasker, but I'm really not. I hyper focus, and when I get interrupted, it pulls me out of it. It takes me like forever to get back into it.
It's a long time to switch back in.
And sometimes you're extending that period of time because you're like, well, while I'm out of it, I might as well check emails and stuff.
See if Best Buy's.
And I don't want a billion tiny requests like queued up for me. So if I think it's going to take 5, 10, 15 minutes, then I will drop everything and do it immediately just to get it out of my face. But then sometimes I will go dark. I'll shut everything off, and because if there's just something I got to do, like if I'm working on a big workflow,
that's the 6-digit problem right there.
The GUI version of software development.
Yep.
Software development for desktop support type people, non-programmers.
Call that low code these days.
But still, you have this whole vision of how you're going to build this thing and what you need to do. And okay, this year, there's so much going on.
Mm-hmm. A 50-step flow chart does not build itself in like one shot.
Yeah. And then the interruption happens, and then it's just, my heart sinks. It doesn't sink too much because that's the nature of the job. And if I hold on to anything too tightly, then it's just going to affect me.
Right.
It's going to make things worse.
So, Chad, you said Snapchat is your children's way to...
Yes, my son, my daughter, both my sons, my daughter, and I have 2 adorable cousins.
That love the Snapchat?
That's all they use, right?
Okay.
And it's very immediate. Like, you see when they saw the message, you see,
There's a lot of feedback on that.
Do they still have that map? The Snapchat map?
Yeah.
you can kind of see.
You can turn it off. But it's very immediate. Everything is super immediate, and it actually affects other parts of your life too. Like when you're going like this from 6 a.m. to whatever hour you work at, right?
Yep.
And then at the end of the night, when I have trouble watching TV shows now because for the last ever since we've had all these platforms, like throughout the day, you're just like ping, 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 going, and now I'm supposed to sit and watch whatever. Like it just
focus for 30 minutes in a row on moving pictures. It's crazy.
Yeah,
it does make it harder. But
it also affects even going out to dinner with somebody, or I almost get this this PTSD. I thought I heard that ping from whatever, or did my pocket buzz? Did somebody message me, or did my phone go off? And see, I'm doing this to myself because now I've got the watch.
Right.
I'm getting the messages here and in my phone.
Right.
But somebody needs something right away.
So when's the last time you've forgotten your phone?
1990, never. I don't know that I've left it anywhere for quite a while. I misplaced it a few times, but
never left house without it in ages, right?
No. And plus, I listen to the music constantly, and I stream it through Spotify. So if I get to my truck and my music,
and you don't have music, I got to go back.
That's a great indicator.
Right.
So, I now with all the MFA and stuff, I'm paranoid about my phone just dying, so I get home, I plug it in. I get to work, I plug it in. I get my car, I plug it in. I don't think it's been lower than 95% for a year. I'll probably ruin the battery doing that.
I was going to say the battery is going to turn into a pillow, but
But that's the thing, I have to have that. I have to have that with me. Otherwise, I'm going to get it. I have to drive home to get it. So we're tied to these devices, and we need these forms of communication to do our jobs.
I've forgotten my laptop at home more than I've forgotten my phone at home.
Yeah. I've left my laptop at home and
gotten somewhere and be like.
Luckily, I had my phone with me, so I could call home and say, "Can you give me my laptop?"
Oh, you've got a service built in, don't you?
Yeah, I'm right here. Just open Snapchat. You can see me on the map.
There's very few people that can say, "Oh, I forgot my laptop. Do you have an extra lying around?" It's like, yeah, I do, Bryce, because you live in Lakeville. But if it's somebody lives 10 minutes away, it's like, yeah, I do. It's at your house. It's 10 minutes away.
Wow, hardball.
Well, I'm going to spend a half an hour
20 minutes
setting it up.
Yeah.
If I have one.
Right.
Yeah. No, it's just you have, and I think you have to guard your time, and because people will ask things of you where it's transferring this much time from them to this much time for you.
Right. That's true.
And it's can you update this thing so that it will do X so that I don't have to do X?
Right.
Is it worth 2 weeks of developer time to save you 2 minutes a year?
Right.
Yeah. That's the emergency that's not an emergency. I want to dump a whole bunch of work on your plate. I want to give you a project.
Right.
Hey, could you send me that email again?
Yeah.
Don't give me that project to do. You got the email. I know you got the email. It's somewhere.
It's in your
search from Kyle.
Well, that's another thing. Do you end up with things in Teams that you need to go back to days later?
Yeah, I've gotten okay at kind of a version of journaling, right? So where I have one thing where I'm all right, for all the inputs, I'm just dump it in, and it's literally just Apple Notes, right? Here's the thing for the day.
Yep.
Because I'll copy things from Teams into there, and but yes, I do accumulate a lot of things that need to be.
There's a lot of information in Teams and Slack and all these other things that it has gotten to be a challenge. I remember I have this information, but I don't remember which of the many different ways to talk to me somebody told it to me.
Well, it's good to know that everybody else has that problem too. So it's I sent you that key piece of information within 6 paragraphs in this giant message I sent out, and that was a week ago, and now you're asking me again? How dare you? I sent that out to you.
I sent it to you.
Didn't we just learn about somebody building a product, Dropbox, at lunch?
Oh, yeah.
We talked about
Yeah.
that. Where they're building a layer on top of all of your inputs that you can search through.
Yeah, it's coming. I think.
What's AI going to do for us in that space?
That's what they're literally talking about is...
You're going to feed it all of the things, and it will keep track of it for you because it's a machine.
It'll have input. It'll have hooks into all of your stuff. I mean, that's the product idea. Is that it'll have hooks. I think I haven't seen it.
Right.
I just literally just heard the pitch at lunch, but it'll have hooks into all of your Gmail and Teams and blah blah blah.
Yep.
And then at some point, you might just be able to ask your AI, "Hey, I'm looking for whatever."
You do the blip blip computer.
Oh, is that?
Tell me.
Or it
wasn't that a
says-
product that we saw? Somebody
Yep.
mentioned this on Slack.
Yep.
Where you just
$600. You get a little thing that you wear.
Yeah,
and
what's
tap.
that called? The
I don't know.
Orc? I don't know. Some weird name. But it's
I
the...
don't want to tap it though. I wish you could just flick it.
I wish it was the Star Trek thing where it was also my phone and everything. Just
Almost
magic.
guaranteed that that's going to be like within a decade.
Yes.
You have a little.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
between
you have it on your wrist right now.
I mean, yeah, I was going to say between earbuds, right? Them connected to this and my wrist and everything else, like
Yeah.
we're practically there
We're
already.
practically there. And
Can you
it's-
take calls on your watch?
I didn't get that version, but you can. There is a version that does that. It has cellular and
Yeah.
text message. I mean, I could write a text on my watch if I wanted to write each character with my finger.
Which you
But-
do. It's a very efficient way.
Yeah. I can do what my buddy Greg does. Greg just talks into it and it sends a message, right?
Yeah.
Like it does. It's actually
Oh,
pretty good at
That
listening
whole
now.
dictation thing is weird.
I-
You have to get over the uncomfortableness of it.
It's gotten better, but now imagine going into
Just
the
doing
office
it, though.
and everybody dictating everything. That was Tuesday. We were here, and it was very loud, and people were talking a lot.
It was wonderful to
Yes.
see so many of our friends. Like
Exactly.
actually, honestly, it was really, really nice. to
Totally.
just-
Yeah.
It was
and I
a
think
great day.
it was one of the days where I didn't know not half. I didn't know like 30% of the people I bumped into.
Wow. Only 30%. I didn't know half the people.
But it was, but also it was very challenging. Like I'm on calls all day, and I might
You're
have
really-
been better served not being in the office.
You're not multitasking as conveniently, right?
Well, half of my multitasking is find a place where I can actually take a call and I
Right.
get to multitask during.
Yep.
Well, I know on those days that there's going to be a good half an hour to an hour where people are coming into my office
Is that
to
all?
borrow the thing.
I would take 2 hours, 3 hours.
Yeah, I guess. To borrow the thing
Uh-huh.
I forgot at home.
Yeah.
And luckily, everything now is USB-C,
Uh-huh.
except for the MacBooks Pro Super stuff that have that special. But I think it'll still charge with USB-C.
It will.
It does, yes.
Yeah. So that's nice.
Mhm.
And then I have the box of ancient power cords from
Yep.
the days of old.
Right.
Careful with those. Sometimes they catch fire. Or melt.
Sometimes I have to dig and look and then combine things, provide somebody with a charger for their phone.
I do wonder what the psychological impacts of all of the distractions that we're dealing with, like specifically us.
Yep.
What does this look like in 20 years for us? Like, does it melt our brain? In 20 years, are we going to be I don't even know, right? Like, I wonder if anybody's
I
going to
know it's
study
going
if
to be,
anybody.
there's going to be a layer between you and all of that junk, picking and choosing the stuff you need to know and when you need to know it. And then
I mean, how often have you wished for a personal assistant?
Yeah.
never.
At work. At
I
work.
don't think he,
Somebody
I
that
think
would
he wants somebody to,
somebody that would read all your messages and here's the
Yeah.
important information.
when he's at the bar, he wants someone to grab beers. But you
Call them waitresses. We have
you have your way of doing
Job
things,
exists.
right?
I
Right.
do, but I'm just wondering though, because even at the end of the day, and I don't want this to sound sad, but I will have a couple of drinks, and it does kind of slow things down a little bit. And It's
Right.
maybe not
Yeah.
the most healthy way to deal with constant a rush of information from the time I wake up till the time I try to slow down. But
Right.
even without that. I can, it's not that if I don't have a few drinks at the end of the day, I'm not going to be able to turn my brain off, but the constant flow of information, the constant interruptions, and the constant draws on your attention, at some point, psychologically, that's got to have something like an impact on you, right? And I wonder what that is going to look like in 15, 20 years. Like, I'd love
Yeah.
to.
Right. Right.
Like when everybody it looks like a question mark because they're always bent over looking at their phone.
I mean, we've talked about
problems,
neuroplasticity before, right?
Yeah.
And so your brain is changing. All of our brains are changing right now and fitting into whatever systems we're putting ourselves through. So yeah,
But you got you're carrying that because that just builds. There's a stress that just kind of, as all this stuff's happening all day long, that kind of builds up, and then you take that home, and then you have to decompress. When my brother lived with me, I'd walk in the door, and he'd be home by himself half the day and want to talk.
You need a little attention.
I'd walk in, and he'd all of a sudden just start telling me all this stuff. No, I'm not home yet. I'm not, I need a half an hour or an hour.
I'm at my worst in when it's really, really cold out, because I've dealt with this I do some certain predilections, but I also have a dog. Mm-hmm. So I get home and he's excited. We go for walks.
Yeah.
And it's a nice way to
disconnect,
and it helps that he is hyperactive and he's addicted to espressos. So by the time I get home, he's just so I can't look at my phone when I'm walking him, because if I'm going to lose it, right? He's just going to zip off. So I've got to be disconnected in the moment with him for however long we're walking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. And
do you shut it all off at night?
No. Like I said, I messaged Claire at 12:30 because I was online doing some stuff. I usually actually look at Slack, and anybody that's green that I've talked to recently, if we've got I will message and say log off.
Right.
Or on Teams, at work, especially on Teams. My friend Brady Hegberg, who we all know, right? He's notorious for, he'll work throughout the day, and then he'll pop his laptop open at the end of the night at 10, 11 o'clock. Mm-hmm. And I will constantly throughout the week see him online at 10 or 11, and I will say, dude, log off.
Yeah.
Log off. And then I'll, hey, I'm not logging off until you log off. And then they log off.
It's funny you mention that, because that is I think a trait of this instant access stuff is, if I close down from work at 3 o'clock that day, inevitably I will go back and be just take a peek. I just want to see if anything anything started on fire or anything like that. And I tell myself it sets myself up for a better day tomorrow, but it doesn't change anything.
I've gotten better at looking at things more realistically. Okay, you need your password reset. No one dies because your password doesn't get reset for 12 hours.
I mean, almost no one, but yeah.
Right. It's so I'm going to I get home, I unplug.
Yeah.
I shut out, I don't check email, I don't check Slack unless I do it accidentally. I'm good, I'm done. Because I don't want those late messages coming in that I'm not going to do anything about till the next day. I'm I'll just get them in the morning. That way I don't forget about them.
I will say, having reminders, the ability to set reminders on things allows me to read Slack at night and then set a reminder for the next day, so that I'm
wait, really quick. You can set a reminder
on the Slack message.
On a Slack message.
Yep.
To read it. Mm-hmm. So the Slack message that you just read.
Yep.
You set a reminder to read it again.
I need to take an action on this.
Right.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But I'm not taking an action right now. But I don't have to think about it until tomorrow, because I've set an alarm. So that
I just had one of those myself. I just I saw a Slack message that was also an email that I have to do something tonight about TO.
Yeah.
All right. So I actually talked into my phone. Hey, when I get home, remind me to
do this at this time.
Do this
PTO revenue sharing carryover cash out.
Yeah.
Open that Nintex form in Chrome, not Safari.
Oh, that stinks, because
I know.
I've actually grown quite fond of Safari. Only because I hate having. So I'm sucked into the Apple ecosystem, right?
Yes.
The phone, the watch, the
computer,
laptops, the whole 9 yards.
Pretty soon the Visionary.
Yeah.
Maybe when it comes down in price, it does look kind of, Well,
I gotta try them on.
I've got a weird eye problem, so I'm actually really excited about some of these technologies, like that specifically.
Yep.
Because so I see double all the time. If I don't have my glasses on, I see double.
Yep.
And they've actually taken this condition into account. And so, when I put those on, I don't need my glasses. It'll just adjust to. It's supposed to just adjust to your eyes.
Really?
And so for me, that thing, especially the big screen, it's going to become basically a monitor for you.
Right.
That is really interesting.
Yeah, no monitors on desks. People are just put their glasses on. You got giant workspace. I purchased VR headgear stuff twice, and I've used it for an hour. It's just too heavy. I don't like it. I don't know why I get impulse buy. I've got impulse shopping issues.
Yeah, it's funny. I've used it in the winter. There's one game, Beat Saber. I play that with arm weights.
Yeah. Okay.
It's actually like a decent workout.
A little workout?
Yeah.
The first VR goggles I got, they were Samsung. My phone slid in.
Yeah.
Oh, I remember this, yeah.
And they had this Jungle Book movie experience.
Okay.
And so you're in and you see there's all the animals and stuff, and you can look around. All of a sudden you hear something, and you turn around, and this giant orangutan is coming right at you. It scared the crap out of me.
Yeah, that would be
I
fun.
think that's the last time I used them. Yeah, I don't like being frightened.
I tried Google Cardboard back in the day when you got a cardboard box that you could fold and dump your phone in.
Yeah.
I went to the next one and I said, you know what? I'm going to wait until maybe Apple or maybe the next one comes out and gets better.
I'm excited to try the Apple version of this stuff. I think they're going to do a really nice job. I love already that they have the translucent screen.
That's an interesting take. Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll see where it goes. But I hope it doesn't get too good that I'm wearing it all the time.
You're just going to be walking around the office.
Get another distraction. Or it's just my distractions will be laser beamed into my freaking eyes.
That's
24/7.
You know, that is an argument against having implanted computers, is that you can't ever shut it down. Right?
Yeah.
I would say that the notification problem, the constant distraction problem, is on you. Like, you can't train everybody around you.
No, you can't control anybody else.
Right. Maybe if you're working on a team, you can set certain hours and ask things of people. Hey, we're not going to have our notifications turned on, so if it's an emergency, just don't expect you to respond for the next 4 hours.
There is a leadership aspect to it, right?
Right.
If the people around, if I'm on a project and the tech lead is on nonstop,
Right.
I might be a little more hyper aware of, oh crap, let me just see if anything came in, right?
Yeah.
But if your leadership shuts off at a certain point, right, then you feel okay shutting off at a certain point.
Yeah.
And so it could be, yes, at the end of the day, it's 100% on you to turn your crap off,
right,
that you don't need. But at the same time, there is an aspect of showing people how to do it and not being the guy that, logs in at 10 p.m. and pops questions out there and forming that habit in people's head that, hey, there might be something out there. I'll just look and see what it is really quick to see how my day's going to be, and maybe ruin my night if it's going to be something I don't want to see. Right? Like one of the worst things that I ever want to see is, hey, we should chat tomorrow about blah.
Yeah.
Depending on who that message comes from, and if it's one of the developers of my project, I'm super excited.
That's fine.
Oh,
yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
Cool.
We'll figure it out.
Right.
If it's the director of blah blah blah, I'm like, well, what the hell? So.
Oh, hey, just so you know, tomorrow we really need to talk about changing this.
Yeah. Yeah.
So do you call back right away and let's do this now?
Almost always. Yeah. I'm like, no, let's saddle up and go now. Right.
Right.
But I think that's a huge thing for anybody in a leader. Like, hey, if you're actually setting this example of I'm
any hour.
Yeah, then it becomes normalized for the rest of the team,
right?
Or you could do the very opposite and just understand the consequences of what that's going to do to your team's health, right? If you're always on, and I'm probably guilty of the second thing more than the first thing, but people know that I'm not.
Yeah,
but like you said, Kyle, you can pseudo set an example. You can still be on it at 10 at night, but you can delay send it until 8 in the morning so that you don't forget it. You've gotten it out of your system, but it doesn't affect Chad's health because he's not going to see it until 8.
That's a nice idea, but how often do people send emails without attachments, or people send emails to people without including the person?
Oh yeah.
Yes, there's a technical solution to these problems, or there's a behavioral one, and I think people should just pay attention more to the behavioral one than, there's a way to do that.
Well, and I think there's also some etiquette around it, some politeness around it. You have to tell people your situation
Right.
Hey, I'm expecting some stuff, or I've got this situation going on, so I got to pay attention to this. When we're in meetings with Chad, I know he's watching Teams with one eye. It's weird how he can do that.
I see double, remember?
That's right. So he's got Teams and so I understand. I don't feel bad when Chad's not looking at the camera.
Right.
When I'm meeting with, John, I don't feel bad. His last meeting went over because I know what his schedule's like. I know how many things he's involved in. So I go into those situations with those understandings. Now, if it's my buddy Hammy, and because he gets texts and he answers them right away.
His name's Hammy?
Yeah, Hamilton, his last name. So we call him Hammy.
That's short.
I thought we were talking about like a pig.
So Bacon is Bacon Von Hammy. It's really annoying. So I have to tell him, like, stop it. Turn that thing off. Like, we're supposed to be hanging out.
Right.
Then there's a call. He did apartment building maintenance for years.
Yeah.
And he's got a lot of people out there that still call
That still know that he has done that in the past.
Hey, do you know what this is?
How do you change
and
a
he
light
takes
bulb?
those calls at
Wow.
like 8 at night. And it's like, dude, you're not working there anymore. You're not on call.
Yeah, that's a challenge.
Yeah. We're in the middle of a movie theater. It's
All right.
distracting. So, and the people that are in public talking on their phone really loud.
As a guy that was just at a coffee shop doing Teams call after Teams call after Teams call.
Yeah.
Have you found that coffee shops have gotten louder and louder?
It's pretty loud, yeah. I mean, it's not a library anymore. It's pretty loud. It's not people sitting around reading books. And I think the people that are doing that kind of realize, okay, this is an extension of somebody's office now, so they don't
Right.
get it as...
Well, I think, if you're just having a normal conversation, normal tone, but I get the sense that some people are like using that as a performance, and they talk really loud about really important business things.
Yeah.
I find controlling the volume of my voice on my headsets challenging because you don't have that feedback of being in the room with somebody and
Oh yeah, I put the earbuds in and I can't tell.
and you can't tell if
how loud.
you're talking really loud
how
or
loud you are.
really soft.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a challenge.
So you have on your watch, you have a microphone with a little
That's
meter.
what I need is a meter.
So you can see how you're
Actually,
doing.
some I watch, these do actually literally do tell you if you're in a loud environment, right? So
Yeah.
if I'm in my truck,
Right.
within 2 minutes later, it's like, hey, turn the
Hey,
radio
buddy.
down. But also when I'm talking to people, I can tell who, like, I used to think, oh, this person kind of talks a little loud. My watch tells me definitively, hey, you are in a loud environment. Cut that conversation short, because you're going to hurt your ears.
Wow.
Any parting thoughts?
Back to multitasking. I think we've done that here in this podcast, but it's a challenge.
Wanted a bit.
And
Yeah, I think take on the responsibility of like controlling your notifications. What's going to bother
That'll
you?
help.
Like when you're going to pay attention to it.
right.
Communicate with people. If you're going to be distracted during a call, let them know what's going on. And
I think be self-aware enough to realize what you're doing to other people. That's huge.
yeah,
And that's not even self-awareness, I guess, but just a common courtesy. Realize that if you're going to interrupt somebody in the middle of the day, I try to bookend, morning, afternoon, evening, right? So if somebody can focus, they will, but realize the impact of consistent interruptions and don't expect other people to be able to multitask ever.
Right.
Well, and also, we're working in more and more open public spaces, like read the room. Like the headphones, if someone's got headphones on,
Don't talk to them. Don't keep reaching.
okay, I'll bug them later.
Yeah.
What I've also done is understand that anything you can do to not add to the noise. I post far less funny retorts than I used to. I will write them and then I'll delete them. Like, how good was this joke? Not good enough. They got to be fairly good, or it's just I'm not thinking about it and I just kick it out. But you probably, if you look out on Slack, you'll probably see me Kyla's typing, and then nothing comes through.
I see that a lot. So like with the ADD, I sometimes notice the 3 dots happening on a conversation, either in Teams or Slack, and like I'll let it go for a little bit. I'm like, would you please type faster? All right, because you have my attention right now. So either type faster or call me. Just get it up.
It's like, what's the perfect wording for this? Let me go to ChatGPT. Well, let me look this up. And then Chat's just sitting there going nuts.
Alrighty. See you guys next week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds great.
All
Bye,
right.
everybody.
So long.
Solution Design Group is a digital product consultancy in Minneapolis. Check us out on the web at solutiondesign.com or look for us on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Instagram at Solution Design Group.